Raise your hand if you've recently purchased eggs. Now, keep your hand raised if you thought that cage-free meant hens had access to the outdoors. What if I told you that cage-free actually signifies thousands of hens crammed into warehouses, just barely better than the cages they escaped? How many other misconceptions like this are you carrying into your grocery cart? Hello everyone, my name is Lane Falcon, and today I'm here to discuss the misinformation and mislabeling prevalent within the American animal-based product industry. This topic should be personal to you, as it doesn't just pertain to your personal well-being. By understanding the truth behind your food labels, you can make informed decisions that not only benefit your well-being, but also help combat mass animal cruelty and environmental decline. You see, last year I was diagnosed with genetically high cholesterol, despite avoiding processed foods, exercising regularly, and ultimately doing everything I thought necessary for a healthy lifestyle. It wasn't until I began to look into the origin of the foods that I was consuming when I discovered the negative impacts they were having on my health and possibly yours too. So today, I'll be discussing the misinformation and mislabeling prevalent, particularly within the cage-free eggs, farm-raised fish, and pork and beef industries. Now, you may remember I mentioned that cage-free hens are not confined to cages. However, they are still often crammed into warehouses such as this, with little to no ventilation and hardly any room to move. According to the Animal Legal Defense Fund, the USDA's organic program requires producers to keep animals in living conditions that both accommodate their natural health and their natural behavior. This includes direct access to drinking water and direct access to sunlight, except that animals may be temporarily denied access to the outdoors. Producers have now used this as a loophole to keep their hens indoors most, or if not all the time, in these overcrowded and unsanitary conditions. These highly populated conditions also contribute to mass disease outbreaks and a higher use of antibiotics, which diminishes and lowers the nutritional value of the eggs that you might consume. However, the push for cage-free eggs does not just tie back to welfare concerns. It is the result of large food corporations aiming to profit from consumer demand. According to the New York Times, if shoppers really want to buy eggs and have clear consciences, they might have to pay up to 2, 3, or even 4 times as much for organic pasture-raised eggs over conventional eggs. Anything less than that means buying into an industrialized system of mass egg production. Be it conventional or cage-free, it is the nature of the system itself that is problematic. So, next time you opt for cage-free or even free-range eggs, remember, cage-free does not guarantee acres of free space as pasture-raised does. It simply guarantees a foot more space than a cage will provide. Moving forward, many consumers also think that farm-raised fish, labeled as sustainable or wild-caught, are raised in similar conditions to their natural relatives. Unfortunately, this could not be further from the truth. For example, while sockeye salmon is prized for its natural flavor, it's often much more expensive, typically twice the price of farm varieties. It's price differences like these that ultimately lead to fraud. According to a 2018 investigation by the New York Attorney General's office, consumers think they are buying lemon sole, red snapper, or even wild salmon, but instead they unknowingly take home a cheaper, less environmentally sustainable, and less healthy fish. Essentially, it's a cheat and bait system which violates consumers like us and our consumer protection laws. It's also within these crowded fish farms that disease outbreaks are extremely prevalent, as sick fish are not removed by their natural predators as they would be in the wild. Culinary disease in particular is one of the leading ones, and as Farm Sanctuary states, almost all U.S. finfish aquaculture industries are impacted by it. Infected fish suffer from sores on their skin and a slimy substance, and it can even have a mortality rate of up to 90%. As you can see though, not all infected fish die. In fact, even fish that do show signs of disease can still be processed and sold for consumption, raising concerns about the quality and the nutritional value of the farm-raised fish that may make it to your plate. Unfortunately, these issues I've discussed today are also just as prevalent, if not more, within the American pork and beef industry. However, for the sake of time, I can only begin to scratch the surface. As Joe Fraser notes, under the current rules, beef and pork products that are shipped to the United States and processed here can technically be labeled as products of the USA, even if the animal was raised a continent away. So what does this mean for us? Well, a steer slaughtered in Uruguay, for example, but processed at a meatpacking plant in Colorado, or even right here in Tennessee, could technically still be considered American meat, even if it isn't. So hopefully today, I hope you learned a little bit more about the misinformation and mislabeling prevalent within the food that you eat, particularly in the cage-free eggs, farm-raised fish, and pork and beef industries. I encourage you moving forward, the next time you stand in the grocery aisle, truly pause and reflect on what items you're placing in your grocery cart. The label may promise one thing, but the reality often hides a much, much darker truth.